Welcome to the IndyCar Debrief, where we're taking you behind the scenes of the 2021 NTT IndyCar Series and helping you make your picks for the IndyCar Series Fantasy Challenge, driven by Firestone. Be sure to sign up at fantasy.indycar.com or join through the IndyCar app. I'm Jen Horsey, and I'm here with co-hosts IndyCar driver Connor Daly and Racer Magazine's Lawrence Foster. And this week, we're going to take a deep dive into the upcoming pole weekend and catch up with a very special guest, two-time IndyCar Series champion Josef Newgarden. But before we get to that, let's talk about last weekend's GMR Grand Prix. May is officially here, guys. Connor, it looks like you're in the bus. How's it feel to be back in Indy?
Well, it's great. I have mounted my phone here, which is working wonderfully. So not quite the normal setting, but yeah, I mean, it's awesome to be back here. Awesome to be back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And yeah, we've actually, like, as we're recording this, I do believe Josef and I have done a few laps, so we have a little bit of a good idea of what's going on. Actually, a terrible idea, realistically, because we've done so few laps. But at least we have some bit of information heading into our fantasy picks for what we're about to tell you.
Very nice. Tell us a little bit about last weekend. I mean, your teammate won, so it must have felt like you had all the pieces in place, and it just wasn't your weekend again, huh?
Yeah, I mean, through no fault of my own, it wasn't our weekend. I think we had a great adjustment for our car. We knew our cars were going to be fast. I think Rinus has obviously been fast there in the past. And thankfully, we had something to try on our car, and it worked, and it was really, really nice. I think all weekend we were really, really competitive. So that felt great. And to make, the fast six for the first time was awesome. That felt fantastic. But yeah, got taken out by Simon. So, it was one of those things that, he sent me a text to apologize. And, I get it. These starts are crazy at the GMR Grand Prix. But yeah, I mean, it was really, really annoying. My teammate won. We knew we had fast cars. I still set fourth fastest race lap with my steering wheel at a 45-degree angle. So, felt like our car was, was in a position to fight for the podium and hopefully fight for the win. But sadly, nothing has really been on our lucky side yet. So maybe all of these terrible things that happen, you never know. It could result in a wonderful month the rest of the month. So that's our goal. All we can do is keep waking up, going to the racetrack, putting on that helmet, putting on these fancy onesies, and hope that you end up doing everything correctly.
I think I saw you blame your mullet for your bad luck. Are you gonna do something about that before the 500?
Well, there are a lot of people who are saying no. There are some people who are saying, please get rid of it. So it's tough. I mean, we did sell a lot of T-shirts with a mullet on them. So I got a text from Tucker Barnhart, who plays for the Cincinnati Reds, just yesterday. He had it on. I was like, gosh, if everyone's wearing this mullet shirt, I can't get rid of it now. So who knows? I don't think you can blame bad luck on anything. So I'm just going to keep focusing on one day at a time.
Very nice. It's got to turn sometime. So sadly, I guess that was maybe a bit of a low light from the weekend. Lawrence, why don't you walk us through some of the highlights?
Well, as you guys have discussed, obviously the first NTT IndyCar Series career win for Rinus. And that's also the first one for Ed Carpenter Racing since Iowa back in 2016, which I believe was our guest driver today at the wheel. The other big story, obviously, from the weekend was just the whole feel-good factor around Romain Grosjean. Pole position, leading the first half of the race, finishing second. In a way, that's what Romain expects to be doing. It's what we expect from such a driver with such a pedigree. Probably not as soon as this, but yeah, a spectacular weekend for Romain. And then in the points battle, obviously, solid results for Alex Palou, solid results for Josef. They are now second and third in points, and Scott Dixon still in first after a sort of a low-key ninth place finish.
Yeah, I have no idea how Scott is still leading the championship. Like, the guy qualified 17th or 18th or something, and here he is still leading the championship. I mean, it's almost like he's a mythical creature. I don't think he is actually a real person, but he is some sort of mythical superhuman. and still does the job every time. So pretty wild. But yeah, but back to Rinus. I think we all thought Rinus was going to be good, and I'm really, really happy for the team. It was super great to see those, our group, celebrate a win, and it's great to do that at Indianapolis as well. I know Ed was super happy, and the guys deserve it for sure. So super happy for him. I mean, he's still just a kid. We were going to go out Saturday night and celebrate, and I was like, he's 20. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't even do anything with the poor guy.
Yeah, it's crazy with the new winners in the field. Like Scott is the only winner this season over 30, right? Like everybody else is in their early 20s. It really feels like there's a new generation of competitors coming up through the pack. How did we do in our picks, Lawrence? I feel like I'm not last, which makes me happy because that's my goal.
We weren't spectacular.
We got
a couple of solid scores. The fact that we couple of us gravitated towards Roman, a couple of us gravitated towards VK.
Well, I got to say, like, I've got 470 total points there for Team Triple Caution, and I picked Romain as one of my picks last week, and he scored really well for me, big 50 points for having him on my team. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Maybe I'll make that a bit of a tradition.
He did comment on my Instagram photo as well. He said, maybe I should do the Racer IndyCar debrief more often. And I said, you know what? Probably not a bad move.
I mean, there you go, right? Last week's guest, Romain Grosjean, scored very well for me. Big 50 points for having him on my team. And this week's guest is a pretty solid pick for just about any race as well. We've got two-time IndyCar Series champion Josef Newgarden with us today. And Joseph, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. Hopefully I can bring some insights to the show, but it's been fun watching you guys. It's great that you're doing this.
Thank you. I just wanted to start out. I took a look at your career record in preparation for the show, and it got me thinking about the relationship between teams and drivers. So 15 of your 18 career wins and both championship titles have come with Penske. I want to know, was it great timing on their part to sign you when they did, or is there some magic in that organization?
Well, there's a balance to everything, but it was good timing. I think trajectory-wise within my personal career, it seemed like the right time. I think we'd all prefer to join an organization like Team Penske sooner. Right off with your junior career would be great, but definitely from my development side, I felt like I was prepared to have the opportunity at Team Penske and hopefully make the most of it. And I think within the team itself, they've been very consistent. As everybody knows, you look at the lineage at Team Penske, and they're a very consistent group, and they've not really slowed that up. So we're trying to keep that going here this season. But certainly in my first 4 years, we've had a really solid base to work off of from their years of experience and the consistency within the organization.
You look at Penske, and obviously it owns the Indy 500, 18 overall wins. But looking at Joseph's record over the Penske years, Joseph, you are trending pretty stoutly towards, I think, having a breakout Indy 500. Just talk us through your last couple of Indy 500, laps led, the fact that you have been a factor. Where do you think it's heading?
Well, I believe every year we have an opportunity to win the race, and that's that's the first step, is to put yourself in position to try and win the event at the end of it. When you come to the final stint, it's the final pit stop. You need to be in position to potentially win the race if you're going to have a shot at actually doing it. And I think we've definitely been in that conversation the last two seasons, the last two races that we've had here. And I feel like we have the ability to get it done. It's just not falling our way completely. And it's impossible to predict if you're going to have everything you need to close the deal at the very end. But to your point, I think we've been in the conversation. We've been there at the end of these races, and if you do that enough times, I think eventually the tide is going to turn your way. And that's kind of my hope, is that we keep putting ourselves in position to be ready to seize an opportunity, and one of these years is going to kind of pan out. So we're going to work with the same process. We try and build fast cars, start up front, run up front all day, and then most importantly be there at the end to try and give ourselves a chance. And if we keep doing that, like I said, I hope one of these years works out.
I have a quick question. I think what's been really interesting like I've really only had the opportunity to like race around you at the Indy 500 probably in 2019 with Andretti, and I think no matter what, we all know Penske's going to be at the front. That's just it's like Christmas is happening. Penske's at the front of the Indy 500, and it's going to rain at some point during the month of May. And so, what do you think? Like you need, because I like when we were there, like kind of in the top 5 at the Indy 500. It's pretty close. Like, and it's very hard to make progress. Everyone's kind of right there. But like I saw guys, like Rossi's car was quite good, and like Simon's car, like there are certain cars that just have like that extra bit. Is there something in the balance that you think that over the years, getting towards the end of the race, there's something that you've just been missing? Is it a balance thing? Is it just raw? Like, is it sometimes you just don't have the speed, or is there something that you think that you're kind of aiming for this year, that you've either developed the experience to know, okay, by the end of the race, by the last stint, I'm going to need to be a little bit stiffer on the rear bar. I'm going to need a little bit more front wing, or like, is there something that you think that you've kind of narrowed down? All right, this is what I want to have for the final stint of the race.
Yeah, I think it's 2 parts to that question. The first thing is, getting in position at the end is all about the details. And what I mean by that is it takes these small details to be able to get in position at the end of the race. And that's only part of the battle. It's really hard to get in that conversation where you're one of the cars in that final stint that's got a shot. You're in that top 5 or top 3, whatever that group needs to be, that's going to be the group going for the win at the very end of the race. And that's all just details with whether it's the strategy, whether it's the little decisions that you made throughout the race, whether it's the fuel mileage you're getting, the way the car was set up to start, the way it, kind of interacts with the tires throughout each stint. All those details come into play into getting it in position. But then when you're in position, I think comes to the second part of your question of, what do you really need to win the race? And so, getting in position is only part of it. But then when you're in position to win, you've got to have the speed in the car and you got to have the right balance. You really need both ingredients. And a lot of the times you see the people that have either the strongest balance in their car or the strongest speed in their car, they're the ones that generally win the race. And you can kind of feel that throughout the month of May. You can get a sense of who has those type of cars. Some people handle it really well, but they don't necessarily have the speed. Some people have crazy good speed, but maybe they don't handle very well. And sometimes you get both. So I think, trying to build both of those things and then getting the details right to put yourself in position. If you have the car to win and you're there with an opportunity at the end, then you just, you can't let it go, because you never know when you're going to have that chance to have a car like that again.
I think it's been really interesting because I think when Simon won the race, that whole month, Simon's car was so fast. Like there was no denying every single day you could see Simon was cutting through traffic. Simon was so fast every day. And like he won the race, and like it was a close race, but like Joseph has a great point that we'll see over the next couple days. There's going to be a couple cars that probably end up towards the top of the timesheets more often than not, and a little bit easier than others, because of some of these cars when they're built, some of them just have a little bit extra. Some of them have a little bit something special that's just that's going to help them, but. There are going to be guys, I think, that show up on race day that will be the surprise. Like Takuma Sato last year, I think was a bit of a surprise for a lot of people. And you know what? There are going to be guys like that. And those are the people that you want to be. If you know your car maybe isn't going to be quite the fastest car, but you want to have the best opportunity on race day. You want to be able to tune everything into the car that you can through this practice week, through qualifying. And then when you put all the puzzle pieces together for race day, you're going to have a good idea of what you got. And obviously Penske does a great job of doing that.
How different is the setup for qualifying than to race day? Like when you're qualifying solo, that's got to be a really different proposition than actually being in competition.
Yeah, they're very, very different. Obviously downforce levels are massively different. You're trimmed out as much as you can be just to make 4 laps. And they're excruciating, to be honest with you. You're just hanging on to the life of the tire. You're hanging on to the car in general. It feels like it's floating, compared to being completely stuck when you're running in race traffic. So, that's a big difference. And then, what do you need from the car to be able to, handle low downforce? What's going to make you most comfortable to kind of be floating through the racetrack as you try and put 4 laps together. So the demands are very, very different. So you'll run a very, very different car. And I think trying to balance that, throughout the practice week is really hard because, you know, a lot of the time you just want to work on your race car. You're like, look, this is all that's going to matter. I just have to have a fast, solid balance in my race car, and that's what's going to help me win the race. And a lot of the times I think that's mostly true. But at this event, it's so helpful to be able to start up front. It's not critical, but it's such a help to be able to start up front, to keep your day cleaner, to give yourself a better opportunity to stay up there, that you need to take the time to work in qualifying too. And then you can't forget qualifying has points now. You know, so from a championship perspective, you care more about it than I think you did in the past, just because of the fact that you want those points for the entire year.
And we've caught up with both you and Connor in your buses, right? Are you in your bus too, Joseph?
Yep. Just
so what is the month of May for you guys in terms of real life? Like, are you sleeping at the track? Do you just move to the Brickyard?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, we're living here. It's so much fun living life through Scott McLaughlin right now, because he's experiencing all this stuff for the first time, and he's like a total kid in a candy shop. I was like, wait till we get to the month of May. You're gonna love being able to live at the track. Like, literally, this is your residence for 3 weeks, and you can hang out, you can go to dinner, you can come back, you can see the place at nighttime, you can walk pretty much anywhere you want. I mean, what are they going to kick us out? You know, I said, try and do whatever you want to do. You know, just have a great time, respect the place, and, you know, enjoy the moment. And that's, you know, that's what we do. And I love seeing it, like I said, through Scott, because he's enjoying it probably the most of anybody right now.
Oh, yes, he is.
I've never seen it empty, so I can only imagine what it's like. Do you go out and have a special moment on the track? Like, you can go anywhere, right?
I mean, within reason. Connor knows how this works. But we try and, you know, if we want to like do a lap around the track or something, we try and give a heads up text to somebody just so we don't get in trouble. But, you know, for the most part, I mean, we're home here. You know, this is where we're living. So you want to go for a walk or, you know, take the dogs around, whatever it is. It's nice to be able to see this place when it's completely empty. It just has this piece about it.
And we're back to the Indy 500 in May, which feels amazing, and back to normal. And you will be welcoming fans, welcoming guests into your home. How are you feeling about kind of being back to something that feels a little bit more normal?
I love it. You know, I forgot how I forgot how you had to allocate your time with fans at the track. You know, you actually do have to take a bit more account into, you know, will it take me 5 or 10 extra minutes to get somewhere or do something? But it's great. You know, the energy can't be replaced. When we don't have fans here, it doesn't feel the same. And this place was built on it. You know, the energy that people bring and the passion that they have for racing is just as intense as we have driving the cars. So it's great to see people back. And I think, you know, what I've always tried to express to people is you have no idea the amount of effort and work that's gone in from the Speedway, Roger, everyone that works here to try and bring fans back. Not just this year, but last year. I mean, there was just a tremendous amount of effort to try and do everything they could for the fans. So very thankful for our leadership at IMS and through Roger and, you know, what they're doing. I think we're going to have a really fun time this year to bring people back.
But before we get there, we have a pole weekend this weekend. So you guys are going to get through qualifying first. So normally we pick, when we're doing our picks, I'm going to put you on the spot, Joseph. When we're doing our picks, normally we pick a team and a podium. But this weekend, we're going to pick, because we're heading into the big qualifying weekend, Fast Friday, pole day, bump day. I want you to name 4 drivers you think are going to qualify well. And I also want you to pick who you think is going to be that front row when we get through the end of this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. It's so hard right now. I just don't have any sort of feel for who's good.
You don't? I mean, come on. We did like 20 laps this morning.
Yeah, I know, but I think I ran 1 lap at speed, and, you know, with the toes and everything, you have no idea until we get to like Friday or something, and see multiple days in a row. But I think Graham Rahal, for whatever reason, just looks really quick. I'm gauging that more off the tests that we've had here. So I'm going to put him in the conversation. I got to put an ECR car. I don't know which one it'll be. It moves around. It could be Connor. It could be Renus. It could be Ed. Let's just go with Connor. We'll put him up there for an ECR car. And then
we'll take it.
Let's say Will Power. You got to have a Team Penske car. And then let's go with like a Pato Award. You know, I wouldn't be scared to put him out there. I think Arrow McLaren has upped their game. And I think they'll probably be in the fight pretty aggressively. So, you know, I'll take some guesses. Those are my guesses.
Can I put you on the spot further? Who's your front row? What cars are they?
It's so impossible. This is a total guess. Yeah,
go for it.
We're gamblers here.
Come on.
I'm gonna go. I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't. You know what the heck? I don't know what the rules are. I'm gonna go me for pole. It's weird. I'm sorry, I'm picking myself, but I'm gonna try to get right on this.
You vote for yourself for class president, man. Like you got to put yourself in there.
Every vote counts. Okay, every vote counts. I'm gonna go for myself for pole. I'm gonna go. Man, I'm gonna go. Rinus VeeKay for second. I don't know why. I'm just gonna do that now, and then Graham Rahal, third position.
All right,
it's a total guess. I'm going to change my opinion in 2 days from now. So this is, I don't even know how you give you an answer at the moment.
I might change my opinion in an hour. I don't know. Like, exactly. Be one of those things. I mean, we're thinking Chevy's got the heat, huh? I like that. I mean, we're Team Chevy guys, Team Chevy top 2. That could be neat.
I feel very good about Team Chevy. I think they've done a tremendous job this offseason. I think they've done their homework. I think from a speed standpoint, we could be in a very good position. But, give us a couple of days to see where we're at.
Well, I mean, heck, if you're confident, I'm confident. So that's going to be great.
All right. Well, I have definitely written these down. And are
you going to force me to pick now? Or am I going to be forced
You should definitely pick. Let's hear it, Connor.
Yes, right. I am going to force you to pick, but I'm going to force you to pick in just a little bit here.
Okay.
We're Joseph has his own perspective, and kudos to him for picking himself for the front row. I really appreciate that. So, Joseph, Rinus, Rahal, I think that's a very solid front row. We're going to let him get back to preparing to actually be that number one qualifier.
He's a celebrity. He's got things to do.
I mean, big celebrity. He's worth a lot of bucks in the league. So, if we want to pick him, that's gonna take some budget. So we'll let him get back.
One question before you go, Joseph. This is a very important one. If you were to have the opportunity to race a hovercraft or a lawnmower, what are you going for? What do you think is going to be the automobile of choice there for some sort of competitive motor race? Let's say 10 to 15 competitors.
Oh man, it depends on the specification. If these are pretty nice lawnmowers, I'm probably choose lawnmowers.
You think so?
Hovercraft, obviously.
I mean, hovercrafts are cool. I just don't know the specifications. These lawnmowers could kick these hovercrafts.
Why don't we pick the modern technology? Let's go with hovercraft.
Well, a little vintage is good. You can't beat a good old vintage lawnmower race. That sounds amazing. Especially if they have like 700 horsepower. That sounds amazing to me.
Honestly, that's a surprising answer for me, but I respect it.
You gave me the choice. The choice.
Get this man a Dixie chopper and let him eat. Let's go.
All right. On that note, thank you, Connor, for always bringing the weird. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today, Joseph. And before we get into Connor, you get to make your picks in a second. But before we get into that, Lawrence, why don't you walk us through what we're heading into for this weekend, for poll weekend, and what we're actually making our picks for? Thanks very much, Joseph.
Oh man, how do you talk of hovercraft racing? What we've done on this is we've realised that we can't always go for the really expensive guys, the Scott Dixons and the Newgardens. So we've gone for a couple of deeper dives. And also, by the way, include Connor in this because Connor, to remind you, you actually set the fastest overall lap in testing a few weeks ago. I seem to recall.
Oh yes, yeah, we're not in a bad spot. I'm not gonna lie. Our car this morning too, we fired off pretty quick. So it all, like, honestly, it just all depends on who's got the juice come qualifying weekend. This is a tight battle between manufacturers, and I love the Chevrolet group, and as Joseph said, I think they've done a great job. But when you turn the boost up, I mean, that's really when it counts, and no one really knows who's got what until you crank up the boost and see who can run as fast as possible. So this morning we do have the quickest trap speed at 235, but that's only day one.
So let's hit it on some racer recommendations then, and starting off with a couple of guys who don't run the full season, but I think will be will be pretty good, and obviously aren't sort of at the top end of the price range. Tony Kanaan, he's had an Indy 500 pole in the past. He's obviously a former winner, but you can tell as well, not just the fact that he's got Chip Ganassi racing gear, but you know, he was fastest guy in practice at Texas as well. You know, he remains an oval aficionado. Ed Carpenter, as Connor knows, Ed Carpenter Racing bring rocket ships to the Indy 500. Ed is a 3-time pole winner. He's actually got 3 poles in the last 8 years, as well as 2 second-place starts. So you can never rule out Connor's boss when it comes to qualifying at Indy. A couple of other ones, and I know that Joseph and Connor have already touched on at least one of these guys, but Scott McLaughlin found instant speed and also found an instant comfort level when the test at Indy took place a few weeks ago, and he could be a real surprise package, I think, for getting into the top 9. Renus, of course, he's riding a wave of momentum. Okay, we're switching from a road course to an oval, but remember that last year, as a rookie, Renus actually put himself 4th on the Indy 500 starting grid with Ed Carpenter Racing. A couple of other guys to look out for as well. We've got Marco Andretti. It's the only race he's running this year. He was on the pole last year. He comes back. He's in Andretti Autosport equipment, but he's also completely relaxed. You know, isn't thinking about championships, isn't thinking about the big picture. He can just come here and be Marco. So watch out for him. And we've also got James Hinchcliffe. Now that we've got James has basically got to start his season at some point. You know, he's been great at Indy 500 qualifying in the past, but has really had a nightmare of a season. You know, he can certainly do with a kickstart, and why not the Indy 500?
Very cool. I'm actually really interested in, you mentioned Marco, but some of these drivers that are part-time drivers are coming in just for the 500. I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to stack up with the rest of the field that we've been watching so far this season. You know, I'm looking at Montoya, I'm looking at Castroneves, I'm looking at Simone de Silvestro, just people we're not seeing every weekend. And I'm very curious to see how it all shakes out after pole weekend this weekend. Connor, what do you have any? I mean, we're going to put Lawrence on the spot. We're going to make him name his picks. I know you and I are still in the process of making up our minds. What are you looking at?
I mean, honestly, it is so hard to say. I think my guarantees for probably now, I'm going to try and be respectful of the budget here. I think Joseph for sure is a lock. I think Joseph, without a doubt, there's no way he's going to be slow here. But honestly, Scott McLaughlin as well. I think Scott was super fast here during the test. Don't know his like raw speed, like, no-toe wise, but I know he was good in traffic. And if you got a decent car in traffic, usually you can trim it out and be pretty quick in qualifying trim. And Scott's relatively cheap. So I'd say if you can put 2 Penske's in your 4, I mean, that's a solid bet. Scott, Joseph, I would say Ed for sure. Ed and I like very similar balances in the car. So, you know, hopefully if Ed's fast, I'm going to be fast as well. But I'm not going to pick myself considering how well this year has gone so far. So we're just I'm probably never going to pick myself again and just let something come to me. Just let some results come. Who knows? But as a 4th, it's really hard for me to pick one-offs because I know how challenging this place is. And it's such a difficult game to play, but I think you have to look at Graham, you have to look at Takuma, and maybe even Santino. I'm not his biggest fan, everyone knows that, but like realistically he's probably going to be quick, and that team has shown a lot of speed in the past. So either that or the McLarens. The McLarens are going to be quick. We know they are putting a lot of money into this game that we're playing right now, and they've been fast every weekend except for the NDGP, which is surprising. But I think those are the guys that are going to be quick for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
So I mean, obviously we're picking who we think are going to finish at the top, but we are going into a weekend where we're going to have a couple drivers bumped. Who do you think is kind of on the bubble? It's hard to say going in, but like who are you worried about?
It just depends. If anyone shunts this week, that's gonna be someone who's up against it. RC Anderson, I was just with him before he does his ROP. He's a good kid. He was my teammate in 2016 in his short stint in IndyCar, and he was very, very competitive then. He's got a great guy in Roy building his car, though, and I know some of his crew guys well. So I think he's got a good group of people, but it's so hard to make sure that you've got everything because the field is so close right now. So I would say the folks that are going to be tough at the back, it could be the 59 car. It could be the 75 with RC. It could be, Dalton Kellett. It could be, I don't know. I mean, I hate to predict a tough outing for anyone because I've been that guy who's tried to make the field before. I've been that guy who's on the last row twice. So I know what it's like. But it just depends on how this week goes.
What's the pressure like going into that bump situation where you're fighting for the last 3 spots on the grid?
Well, it's the worst because you're not comfortable at all when you're out there qualifying and you're trying to get speed out of a car that is probably just flat out slow. There's no way around it. Sometimes at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, cars are just flat out draggy and there's nothing you can do about it except for take as much downforce out of it as possible and just hang on. And I've been in that situation before. 2018, our car was dog slow, but we just peeled as much downforce out of it and stuck it in the field. And that's really, really challenging. And especially if you have to do runs one after another. If you have to go out, you get bumped, you have to do another run. You go out, get bumped, you have to do another run, try to be better. And that's hard mentally because, when you're trying to do 225 plus, 226 plus, whatever it is to make the field 228, 229, it's hard.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I follow multiple different motorsports as a casual fan, serious fan, and I love the tradition at Indy where we're talking about the average speed, right? Like when we say 226, 7, 8, we're talking about the average speed of 4 laps around this track, which I think is very cool. What do you think? What kind of speeds do you think we're going to see this year?
Well, I would love to see faster than ever. I would love to see track record speeds, but I don't think we're going to get there. We'll see. I assume probably similar to last year, but it all depends on the temperatures. If it's 90 degrees, it's going to be tough. It's going to be 230, 231, maybe. If it's 70 degrees, you could be 233, 232. But it's not like we got a boost in power or anything. So, so I assume it'll be probably pretty similar to last year.
All right. Well, with all of that information, Lawrence, we're going to put you on the spot. What are racers' recommendations? What are your picks for upcoming pole weekend?
Okay, so 3 guys who we've mentioned previously. We are going for value for money, basically, with Ed, with Rinus. So 2 Ed Carpenter Racing cars. We're doing the same rules as Connor. We are not choosing Connor because we don't want to hex him again this weekend. We've got Scott in there for Penske, but that left us basically unable to afford, for instance, a Scott Dixon or to be able to afford a Joseph Newgarden. So our 4th pick, maybe slightly left field, is Alex Palou, Chip Ganassi Racing's other main bullet, and also a guy who, from Texas has shown that he's got a real grip now on ovals and mentality. And also, don't forget as well, as a rookie last year, he actually qualified 7th for the Indy 500 last year. So definitely carrying a bit of previous form as well.
Very nice. It looks like a kind of strategic choices this weekend. And Connor, so you're not picking you. Joseph's a little bit on the fence about whether he's picking you. Lawrence isn't picking you. I'm going to pick you because I picked Romain and it scored well for me. And so it's time. I will make it. You will be in my picks this week.
I'll take it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for, Connor, you're in the middle of a busy week. So thank you very much for taking the time out to be with us again. And Lawrence as well. These are some solid recommendations, and a special thank you to Joseph Newgarden for taking some time out of his day and very busy and very fast week. Make sure you sign up for the IndyCar Series Fantasy Challenge driven by Firestone. Go to fantasy.indycar.com to sign up or join through the IndyCar app. And we'll be back next Thursday for another episode of IndyCar Debrief on Racer.com, where we'll preview the 105th running of the Indy 500. But before then, be sure to tune in this weekend Watch it all live, qualifying for the 105th Indianapolis 500, starting on Saturday, noon to 2 p.m. Eastern, qualification on Peacock. From 2 to 3 p.m., we go to the Big N, NBC, and Peacock, and 3 to 6 p.m., NBCSN and Peacock. And on Sunday, come back for that last row qualification at 1 p.m. on NBCSN and Peacock. And from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m., join us for the Fast 9 on NBC and Peacock. Plus, catch every single practice session live on Peacock. Thanks very much for joining us this week for the IndyCar Debrief, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Racer channel on YouTube or find us wherever you get your podcasts.